Li Jun walked slowly down the long hallway toward the council chamber. His black diplomatic uniform was clean and pressed. His face showed no emotion. Behind him, Park Hana followed with her military boots, making soft sounds on the metal floor. Kim Tae carried a small data pad with trade numbers. Yoon Soo, the oldest of their group, moved with calm steps. The hallway was huge. Tall windows showed the stars outside. The space station Nexus Prime spun slowly around the planet below. This place had been like a second home to humans for 50 years. Today might be the last day they would walk these halls. "The vote is today," Park Hana said quietly. Her voice was steady, but Li Jun knew she was angry inside. All of them were angry, but they would not show it. "Yes," Li Jun replied. "After today, everything changes." They reached the big doors to the council chamber. 2 alien guards stood there. The guards were tall and blue with 4 arms each. They looked down at the humans with cold eyes. One guard spoke in broken human language. "Council is ready for humans now. You go in." Li Jun nodded politely. "Thank you." The doors opened with a deep sound. Inside, the chamber was enormous. 12 different alien species sat in curved rows around a central speaking area. Each group had their own section with special seats for their body types. Some aliens were tall and thin. Others were short and wide. Some had many eyes. Others had no eyes at all. The human section was small. Only 4 seats in the back corner. It had always been this way, even though humans did more work than most other species. Li Jun walked to their section. The other humans followed. All. Around them, aliens talked in their strange languages. Some pointed at the humans. Others made sounds that might have been laughing. The council leader stood up. He was a Zephyrian, tall and golden with a voice like music. But his words were not musical today. "The council will now vote on Resolution 23H7B, the leader announced. "This resolution will reduce human representation in this council from 4 seats to 2 seats. It will also increase taxes on all human colonies by 15%. The extra money will go to the Council Defense Fund." Li Jun felt his hands tighten into fists. He made them relax. Beside him, Park Hana's jaw was hard as stone. Kim Tae stared at his data pad. Yoon Soo closed his eyes and took a deep breath. The leader continued. "Humans have been in this council for 50 years. In that time, they have caused many problems. They ask too many questions. They want to change our old ways. They think they know better than species who have been in space for thousands of years." Annie. Alien from the Helix sector made a sound like breaking glass. This was how his species laughed. "Humans are young and foolish," he said. "They need to learn their place." Another alien, this one looking like a giant spider, waved her 8 legs. "Human ships are too loud. Human food smells bad. Human music hurts our ears. Why do we need so many of them here?" Li Jun stood up slowly. "May I speak?" The leader looked annoyed. "You have 2 minutes, human." Li Jun walked to the center of the chamber. All the alien eyes turned to him. Some of those eyes were angry, others were bored. A few looked curious. "Council members," Li Jun began. His voice was clear and strong. "Humans have been proud members of this council for 50 years. In that time, we have given much to this alliance." He gestured to Kim Tae, who read from his datapad. "Human, ships protect 40% of council trade routes. Human engineers built 60% of the technology you use every day. Human doctors have stopped 12 major plagues in council space. Human diplomats have helped end over 300 wars between council members." The spider alien made a dismissive sound. "Numbers, numbers. Anyone can make up numbers." Li Jun nodded. "You are right. Numbers can lie. So let me tell you about yesterday. Yesterday, human patrol ships stopped pirates from attacking a Helix colony ship. 300 Helix children were on that ship. Today those children are safe because of human actions." The Helix alien who had laughed before looked uncomfortable. "Last week," Li Jun continued, "human medical teams stopped a plague on Kepler 186f. Without human biocontainment protocols, that plague would have killed millions. The week before that, human engineers fixed the fusion reactors on this very station. Without their work, we would all be floating dead in space right now." The chamber became quieter. Some aliens looked at each other. "But," Li Jun said, raising his voice slightly, If the Council believes humans give too little and ask too much, then perhaps it is time for humans to step back. We have always believed in democracy. If the majority votes that humans should have less representation and pay more taxes, then humans will accept this decision. The leader smiled. It was not a kind smile. Good. Then you accept your new place. We accept the Council's decision, Li Jun said carefully. We respect democracy. The vote began. One by one, each alien species cast their vote. The results were not surprising. 10 species voted yes. Only 2 species voted no. The Altarians and the Centauri, both species that humans had helped many times before. The resolution passes, the leader announced. New taxes begin immediately. Human representation will be reduced next month. The aliens began talking excitedly among themselves. Many seemed happy. The spider alien clapped her 8 legs together. The helix alien made more breaking glass sounds. Li Jun stood quietly in the center of the chamber until the noise died down. When all eyes were on him again, he spoke. The Terran Federation thanks the Council for this democratic process. We respect your decision completely. He paused and looked around the chamber. Therefore, effective immediately, all human personnel will begin withdrawing from Council space and Council activities. The chamber became very quiet. We will comply with the Council's wishes at once, Li Jun continued. Human patrol ships will return to Terran space. Human engineers will transfer their duties to Council personnel. Human medical teams will return to human colonies. Human diplomatic staff will close their offices and return home. The leader stood up quickly. Wait, this resolution does not require humans to leave the Council. Li Jun bowed politely. Of course not. But the Council has made its position clear. Humans are too expensive and cause too many problems. The logical solution is for humans to remove themselves as a problem. This way, the Council can function better without human interference. Park Hana, Kim Tae, and Yoon Soo stood up and moved to stand behind Li Jun. Their faces showed no anger, no sadness, no fear. They looked professional and calm. But who will do the work humans do now? Asked a small alien from the outer rim. Li Jun smiled politely. The Council is wise and experienced. You have been in space for thousands of years, as you reminded us. Surely you can handle these simple tasks without help from young and foolish humans. The spider alien's 8 legs stopped clapping. You cannot just leave. Of course we can, Li Jun replied. Democracy means accepting the majority decision. The majority has spoken. Humans cost too much and give too little. So humans will cost nothing and give nothing. This is what the Council wanted. He bowed again, deeper this time. The Terran Federation wishes the Council great success in the future. We will always remember our 50 years together with gratitude. Li Jun turned and walked toward the exit. The other humans followed. Their footsteps echoed in the silent chamber. No alien spoke. No alien moved. At the door, Li Jun stopped and looked back once. Oh, and Council Leader? The fusion reactors will need maintenance in 72 hours. The patrol schedule will need updating tomorrow. The medical supplies will run out next week. But I am sure the wise Council will handle these small matters easily. Then the humans walked out. The doors closed behind them with a deep, final sound. In the chamber, aliens looked at each other with the first signs of worry in their strange eyes. 3 months had passed since the humans left. The Galactic Council tried to act like nothing had changed. Aliens filled the jobs humans used to do. New patrol ships flew the routes human vessels once protected. Alien engineers worked on the systems human technicians had maintained. But small problems kept happening. Choi Min stood on the bridge of the human battleship New Seoul. Through the main screen, she could see Nexus Prime growing smaller as her ship moved away. This was her final inspection of the withdrawal. All human ships had left Council space. All human personnel had returned to Terran colonies. Status report, she said to her crew. All human vessels accounted for, reported her first officer. The last transport ship left the Kepler system 2 hours ago. Withdrawal is complete. Choi Min nodded. The withdrawal had been perfect, professional, clean. No drama, no complaints, no angry words. Humans had simply packed up and left, exactly as Ambassador Lee Jun had promised. Her communication officer looked up from his station. "Captain, we are receiving multiple messages from Council Space. They want to talk to human commanders." "Standard. Response," Choi Min ordered. "The Terran Federation is no longer part of the Galactic Council. All diplomatic communications should go through proper channels." "But Captain, these sound urgent." "Standard response, Lieutenant." Meanwhile, on Nexus Prime, the first real crisis was starting. Bae Sung had been the chief engineer for the space station's fusion reactors. For 15 years, he had kept the massive engines running smoothly. He knew every pipe, every wire, every computer program that controlled the station's power. Now he was gone. In his place, a team of Zephyrian engineers tried to understand his systems. "The primary reactor is showing temperature fluctuations," one Zephyrian reported to his supervisor. "We cannot find the cause." The supervisor studied the displays. The numbers looked wrong, but he did not understand why. "Run a full diagnostic." "We have run 3 diagnostics. The computer says all systems are working correctly, but the temperature keeps changing." What the Zephyrians did not know was that Bae Sung had made small improvements to the reactor design over the years. These improvements were not in the official manuals, they were in his head, passed down through experience and intuition. The reactors were not broken, they were just not optimized anymore. Without Bae Sung's constant small adjustments, they were slowly becoming less efficient. If nothing was done, they would eventually fail. In the council chambers, the leader was trying to manage the first diplomatic crisis since the humans left. "The Helix and Vortanian species are fighting again," his aide reported. "The border dispute on Kepler 442c has turned violent. Both sides are asking for council mediation." The leader felt tired. "Send our diplomatic team." "Sir, our diplomatic team tried for 2 weeks. The negotiations broke down yesterday. Both sides walked out. The Helix representative said the Vortanian translator was insulting his mother. The Vortanian representative said the Helix negotiator smelled like rotting fish." The leader rubbed his golden forehead. When humans handled these disputes, such problems never happened. Human diplomats somehow made different species understand each other. They found solutions that made everyone happy, or at least willing, to accept compromise. "What did the humans do differently?" the leader asked. His aide looked through old records. "It appears Ambassador Lee Jun would meet with each side privately first. He would learn about their cultures, their fears, their real needs. Then he would design negotiation sessions that respected both species' customs. He also used human psychological techniques to reduce tension and build trust." "Can we do that?" "Our diplomatic staff has tried, sir, but we do not understand these techniques. And frankly, sir, most of our diplomats find other species too alien to relate to effectively." On the outer rim of Council space, pirate attacks were increasing. The human patrol ship Busan used to guard the trade route between the Centauri colonies and the main shipping lanes. Captain Park was a careful officer who knew every asteroid and hiding spot in that sector. Her ship had the best sensors and fastest engines in the area. Now the Busan was gone. In its place, a Helix patrol craft tried to do the same job, but the Helix ship was slower and had weaker sensors. Its crew did not know the local space as well as Park's team had. Pirates noticed the difference quickly. "Freighter Lucky Strike to any council patrol," came a desperate message over the emergency channel. "We are under attack in the Kepler 442 system. 3 pirate ships, please help." The Helix patrol craft was too far away. By the time it arrived, the pirates were gone, and the Lucky Strike was a drifting wreck. Its cargo of medical supplies was stolen. Its crew was dead. This was the 15th successful pirate attack since human patrols ended. The Council's security chief called an emergency meeting. "Pirate activity has increased by 300%, he reported. "Our patrol ships cannot cover all the routes human vessels use to protect. We need more ships, better coordination, and faster response times." "How long will it take to, build more patrol ships?" asked the leader. 2 years minimum. But sir, that is not the real problem. The real problem is that our patrol crews do not have the experience human crews had. They do not know how to predict pirate behavior. They do not know the best hiding spots or escape routes. This knowledge took humans decades to develop." The leader felt a cold feeling in his stomach. "Can we train our crews faster?" "We have tried," Sir, but human patrol tactics were very sophisticated. They used advanced computer models to predict where attacks would happen. They had networks of informants in various species. They understood criminal psychology in ways we do not. Without this knowledge, our patrols are mostly just flying around, hoping to get lucky. In the medical stations throughout Council space, another crisis was building. Dr. Ryu Da had been the chief of infectious disease control for the Council. She had stopped 4 major plague outbreaks in the past decade. Her research centers had developed vaccines and treatments that saved millions of lives. Now those research centers were closed. Her equipment was too advanced for alien doctors to operate. Her research notes were written in human scientific language that other species could not fully understand. On the mining world of Kepler 186f, workers started getting sick. "It looks like the same plague we had 2 years ago," the local doctor reported to his superiors. "But we do not have the human treatment protocols anymore." 2 years ago, Dr. Ryu Da had contained a similar outbreak in just 3 days. She had used special biocontainment procedures and a vaccine she had developed herself. The vaccine recipe was in her notes, but the alien doctors could not make sense of her formulas. "Try to contact the human doctor," suggested the mining supervisor. "We have tried, sir. All messages to human space get automatic replies saying we should contact the Council for assistance. But the Council does not have human doctors anymore." The outbreak spread to a second mining station, then a third. Workers fled their jobs and flew to other worlds, carrying the infection with them. In his office, the Council leader stared at reports piling up on his desk, reactor problems on Nexus Prime, failed diplomatic negotiations, pirate attacks increasing, disease outbreaks spreading, trade routes becoming unsafe, food shortages on outer rim worlds. All the problems seemed small, by themselves, but together they were becoming a pattern of systemic failure. His aide entered with more bad news. "Sir, the Altarian ambassador wants to speak with you. It is urgent." The leader sighed. "Send him in." The Altarian was a tall, thin being with silver skin and large black eyes. He moved gracefully, but his expression was serious. "Council leader," the Altarian said, "my government is very concerned about recent developments. The increased pirate activity is hurting our trade. The medical crisis is spreading to our colonies. The diplomatic failures are creating instability on our borders. We are working to solve these problems," the leader replied. "Are you?" "Because from our perspective, these problems did not exist when humans were part of the Council. Everything worked smoothly then. Now everything is falling apart." The leader felt defensive. Humans were expensive and demanding. The Council voted to reduce their influence. The Council voted to reduce their representation and increase their taxes, the Altarian corrected. The Council did not vote to lose all human expertise and assistance. That was the humans' choice. They chose to leave rather than accept democratic decisions. The Altarian's large eyes seemed to grow larger. Did they? Or did they simply give the Council exactly what it asked for? The Council complained that humans cost too much and caused too many problems. So humans removed themselves as a cost and a problem. Is this not logical? The leader had no good answer. "My government suggests," the Altarian continued, "that the Council should consider reaching out to the humans. Perhaps some arrangement can be made." After the Altarian left, the leader sat alone in his office. Outside his window, Nexus Prime's lights flickered slightly as the fusion reactors struggled with their temperature fluctuations. For the first time since the vote, the leader wondered if the Council had made a terrible mistake. 6 months after the humans left, everything was falling apart. The plague that started on Kepler 186f had spread to 12 star systems. What began as a small outbreak in the mining colonies was now a crisis affecting millions of beings across Council space. Hospital ships flew desperately between infected worlds, but they could not keep up with the spreading disease. Dr. Ryu Da watched the news reports from her new laboratory on the human colony world of New Harmony. Her face was sad as she saw images of alien doctors struggling with equipment they did not understand and treatments they could not replicate. "We could help them," said her assistant, Dr. Kim Young. "We have the vaccine formula. We have the biocontainment protocols. We could stop this plague in 2 weeks." Ryuda shook her head. "We are not part of the Council anymore. They made that choice very clear. But beings are dying? Yes, they are. And that is tragic. But 6 months ago, the Council decided our medical expertise was not worth the cost of keeping us. Now they have what they wanted. No expensive human doctors taking up space and asking for resources. Her communication console beeped. Another desperate message from Council Space, the 15th one that day. All asking for help. All getting the same polite automated response, directing them to contact their government through proper diplomatic channels. On Nexus Prime, the situation was becoming desperate. The fusion reactors that Bei Sung used to maintain had finally reached critical instability. Without his constant adjustments and improvements, the complex systems were breaking down in ways the replacement engineers could not understand or fix. Reactor 2 is offline, the Zephyrian chief engineer reported to the station commander. Reactor 3 is showing dangerous power fluctuations. If we lose one more reactor, we will not have enough power for life support. The commander looked at the technical report spread across his desk, pages and pages of data that made no sense to him. What do the human technical manuals say? The manuals cover basic operation and maintenance, sir. But these problems are not covered in the manuals. The human engineer, Bei Sung, he made many improvements over the years. Custom modifications that are not documented anywhere. Without him, we cannot understand how the systems really work. Contact the human engineer directly. We have tried, sir. All communications to human space get automated responses. The humans say they are no longer part of council affairs and cannot provide technical assistance to member governments. The commander felt sweat on his forehead despite the cool air. How long before total power failure? At current rate of decay, perhaps. 2 weeks, maybe less. Across council space, the economic collapse was accelerating. Oh Hyun had managed the supply chains that moved food, medicine, raw materials, and manufactured goods between over 200 worlds. Her logistics network was incredibly complex, with ships, schedules, and routes all coordinated by advanced human computer systems and decades of accumulated knowledge. Now that network was gone, alien logistics officers tried to replace the human system with their own methods. But they did not understand the subtle relationships between different trade routes. They did not know which shipping companies were reliable and which ones would disappear with valuable cargo. They did not have the computer programs that predicted demand and optimized delivery schedules. Food shortages hit the Outer Rim worlds first. Agricultural worlds could not get their crops to market because shipping schedules were chaotic. Industrial worlds could not get raw materials because the alien logistics coordinators did not understand which materials were needed, where, and when. On the mining world of Vega Prime, workers rioted when food supplies ran out for the 3rd time in 2 months. Before the humans left, food deliveries were so regular that no one even thought about them. Now, cargo ships arrived late, or not at all, carrying the wrong supplies or empty containers. The riots spread to other worlds. 12 different planets experienced civil unrest as their populations struggled with shortages of basic necessities. But the worst crisis was yet to come. The hegemony of Altair had been watching the Council's problems with great interest. For decades, they had wanted to expand their territory into Council space, but human military strength had prevented any major aggression. Human fleets patrolled the borders. Human intelligence networks detected military buildups. Human diplomatic skill prevented small conflicts from becoming big wars. Now the humans were gone. Admiral Nam Wu had commanded the Joint Council defense fleets. His tactical innovations and strategic planning had kept the peace for 15 years. He understood how different alien species thought and fought. He knew their weaknesses and strengths. Most importantly, he knew how to coordinate the military forces of 12 different species into an effective fighting force. Without Nam Wu and his human officers, the Council's military was just a collection of individual alien fleets with no real coordination. The Altarians struck without warning. 3 Council border worlds, New Kepler, Vega Station, and the agricultural colony of Green Harbor, were attacked simultaneously by massive Altarian fleets. The attacks were perfectly coordinated, hitting each world's weakest defenses at exactly the right moment. The local Council defense forces tried to respond, but they had no central command structure anymore. Each species' fleet acted independently. The Zephyrian ships used different communication frequencies than the Helix vessels. The spider aliens preferred different battle tactics than the crystalline beings. Without human officers to coordinate everything, the defense was chaos. All 3 worlds fell within hours. In the Council emergency session, panic filled the chamber. "How is this possible?" demanded the spider alien who had been so happy to see humans leave. "Our defense fleets are larger than the Altarian forces." The military advisor, a nervous centauri with blue-green skin, consulted his reports. "Individual ship to ship, yes, we are stronger. But the Altarians fought as one coordinated force while our fleets fought as separate groups. They picked off our ships, one group at a time." "Where were our early warning systems?" asked another alien. "The early warning networks were designed and maintained by human intelligence officers. When they left, we tried to replace them with our own systems. But apparently, we did not understand how the human networks actually functioned. The Altarians were able to move their fleets into attack position without our sensors detecting them." The council leader felt sick. "Contact Admiral Namwu immediately. Offer him any price to return and coordinate our defense." "We have tried, sir." The Admiral's response was the same as all human responses. "The Terran Federation is no longer part of the Council and cannot provide military assistance to member governments. But they must understand that this affects everyone. If the Altarians conquer Council space, humans will be next." The military advisor looked uncomfortable. "Sir, our intelligence suggests that the Altarians and humans have signed a non-aggression treaty. The humans appear to have negotiated their own separate peace." Silence filled the chamber. The council members looked at each other with growing fear. The humans had not only left the council, they had protected themselves without council help. The crisis deepened over the following weeks. The plague spread to 18 star systems. The economic collapse triggered revolutions on 15-member worlds. The Altarians conquered 5 more planets, encountering almost no organized resistance. On Nexus Prime, the power situation became critical. With 3 of 6 fusion reactors offline and the others failing, the Great Space Station began shutting down non-essential systems. Lights dimmed in the corridors. Temperature controls failed in some sections. The artificial gravity flickered, occasionally causing objects to float before crashing back down. In the council chamber, emergency sessions became a daily routine. Each day brought new reports of disasters, failures, and crises that no one knew how to solve. "The terraforming systems on New Eden are failing," reported one aide. "The atmospheric processors were designed by human scientist Han Sol. Without maintenance, the planet's air will become unbreathable within 6 months. 3 million beings live there. The quantum communication network is developing security vulnerabilities," reported another aide. "Alien hackers have broken into several government systems. The encryption protocols were designed by humans, and we cannot repair them. Food riots on Vega Prime have spread to 4 more worlds. The logistics systems are completely broken. Cargo ships are arriving at random intervals with random supplies." The council leader listened to report after report of systemic failure. Every critical system seemed to depend on human knowledge that was now gone. Every crisis seemed to trace back to the loss of human expertise. Finally, he stood up. The chamber became quiet. "How many beings have died because of our decision?" he asked. The question hung in the air like a poisonous gas. "From the plague alone, over 2 million, replied the medical advisor. "From the economic collapse and riots, perhaps another 500,000. From the Altarian attacks, at least 50,000 more." The leader felt each number like a physical blow. And how many beings were saved by human actions in the 50 years they were part of this council? The same advisor consulted his records. Conservative estimates suggest human medical interventions saved over 100 million lives. 10 months after the humans left, the Galactic Council faced complete collapse. Council leaders stared at the holographic display showing the current state of council space. Red zones marked plague-infected systems, 37 of them now. Orange zones showed worlds in economic crisis or civil unrest, 42 worlds. Black zones marked territory conquered by the Altarian hegemony, 15 worlds and growing. The great civilization that had ruled the galaxy for thousands of years was dying. "Status report," the leader said wearily. These daily briefings had become exercises in cataloging disaster. His aide, a young Zephyrian whose golden skin had turned pale with stress, began reading from his datapad. Plague deaths have reached 5 million across Council space. The outer rim colonies of Kepler 438b and Kepler 442c have been completely evacuated. No one knows how to stop the disease without human biocontainment protocols. The leader closed his eyes. Dr. Ryu Da could have stopped this plague in its first week. Her research team had contained similar outbreaks 4 times before. Now she was gone, working in human space, and millions were dead. Economic situation? The leader asked. Complete collapse of the outer rim trade networks. Food riots on 23 worlds. Industrial production down 60% council-wide. The logistics systems are beyond repair. We simply do not understand how the human supply networks functioned. Oh Hyun had made feeding 200 worlds look effortless. She had coordinated millions of cargo shipments, balanced supply and demand across dozens of species, and prevented shortages before they could develop. The aliens trying to replace her system were like children playing with instruments they could not read. Military status? The aide's voice became even more grim. The Altarians conquered 2 more worlds yesterday. The industrial center of Vega Major and the agricultural colony of New Harvest. Total Altarian conquest now includes 17 council worlds. Our defense fleets continue to fight as uncoordinated individual units. Without Admiral Nam Wu's command structure, we cannot mount effective resistance. The leader remembered Nam Wu's calm confidence during past crises. The human admiral had an almost supernatural ability to predict enemy movements and coordinate complex fleet actions. He understood the psychology of different alien species in combat. He knew which commanders worked well together and which ones needed to be kept separate. Now the Council's military was just a collection of ships flying around hoping to get lucky. Any word from our messages to human space? The same automated. Responses, sir. All communications are directed to contact the Council through proper diplomatic channels, channels that no longer exist since we severed formal relations. The leader felt a bitter laugh rise in his throat. The humans were giving them exactly what they had asked for. The Council had voted to reduce human influence and treat them as less important. So the humans had reduced their influence to 0 and removed themselves from Council affairs completely. It was perfectly logical. It was also perfectly devastating. Sir, the aide continued, we have discovered something else. Our intelligence teams have been analyzing human activities since their departure. What kind of activities? The humans have not been sitting idle. They have established new trade partnerships with several non-council species. They have expanded their territory to include 12 new colony worlds. Most importantly, they have made significant technological advances. The leader felt a cold knot form in his stomach. What kind of advances? Their fusion technology has improved by at least 30% efficiency. Their medical research has produced cures for 3 major diseases. Their agricultural techniques are producing 40% higher crop yields. And, sir, they appear to have developed faster-than-light communication that does not rely on the quantum networks they built for us. How is this possible? They have only been gone 10 months. Our analysts believe that council bureaucracy was actually slowing down human innovation. The humans had to get approval from 12 different species for any new research or development. They had to share all their discoveries with council members, including species who might use those discoveries against human interests. Without these restrictions, human science has accelerated dramatically. The leader stared at the holographic display. While council space burned with plague and war and economic collapse, the humans were thriving. They were growing stronger, smarter, and more advanced. They had taken the galaxy's best scientists, engineers, doctors, and military officers with them when they left. There is something else, sir. The Altarians have made contact with the humans. What kind of contact? A non-aggression treaty. The Altarians have agreed not to attack human space. In exchange, the humans have agreed to remain neutral in the current conflict. The leader felt his legs give way. He sat down heavily in his chair. The humans were not just free from council problems, they were protected from them. While the council burned, humanity was safe. They planned this, he whispered. Sir? The humans. They knew this would happen. They knew we could not function without them. They knew the Altarians would attack. They knew everything would collapse. So they made sure to protect themselves before it happened. The aide looked confused. But sir, if they knew, why did they not warn us? The leader laughed bitterly. They did warn us. Every time Ambassador Li Jun spoke in this chamber, he was warning us. Every report about human contributions to council, security, every statistical analysis of human importance to our economy, every diplomatic success story. Those were all warnings. But we did not listen. We thought we were too wise and experienced to need advice from young humans. An emergency alert sounded through the chamber. The aide's communication device buzzed with an urgent message. Sir, Nexus Prime's power grid is failing. We have perhaps hours before total system shutdown. The fusion reactors have deteriorated beyond our ability to repair. Without power, life support will fail throughout the station. The leader looked around the Great Council chamber. This room had been the center of galactic government for 1,000 years. Representatives from dozens of species had made decisions here that affected trillions of beings across the galaxy. Soon, it would be a cold, airless tomb drifting in space. Evacuate all non-essential personnel, the leader ordered. Prepare the emergency fleet for departure. What about the council session scheduled for tomorrow? What council? Half our member worlds are in revolt, plague, or enemy hands. The other half cannot function without the infrastructure humans use to maintain. There is no council anymore. There is only chaos and collapse. As if to emphasize his point, the lights in the chamber dimmed noticeably. The fusion reactors were failing faster now. Sir, what should we tell the member worlds? The leader stood up slowly. Around him, the great chamber that had once symbolized unity and cooperation was growing dark and cold. Tell them the truth, he said. Tell them that 50 years ago, humans joined the council as junior partners. We treated them as inexperienced children who needed guidance from wiser, older species. We were wrong. The humans were not our students. They were holding our entire civilization together. He walked toward the exit, his footsteps echoing in the fading light. Tell them that we discovered too late that humans were not just contributors to our society. They were the foundation of it. They were the engineers who kept our stations running, the doctors who kept our people healthy, the diplomats who kept our species from killing each other, the military officers who kept our enemies at bay. The leader paused at the chamber doors and looked back one last time. And tell them that we threw all of that away because we were too proud and too foolish to appreciate what we had until it was gone. The doors closed behind him with a sound like finality itself. In the empty chamber, the lights went out completely as the last fusion reactor finally died. Nexus Prime, the great symbol of galactic unity, became a dark, lifeless hulk drifting through space. Emergency evacuation ships scattered in all directions, carrying the remnants of what had once been a mighty civilization. Some ships headed for the few council worlds that were still stable. Others sought refuge with non-council species willing to take refugees, and some, swallowing their pride, turned toward human space, hoping that the species they had scorned and dismissed might show mercy to their former oppressors. Behind them, the darkness spread across the galaxy as the infrastructure of civilization collapsed without the humans who had built and maintained it. The council had learned the hardest lesson of all. Some mistakes cannot be undone, but perhaps, if they humbled themselves enough, they might still be forgiven. 12 months after the humans left, President Kang Yuri finally agreed to meet with what remained of the Galactic Council. The meeting would not take place on the dead hulk of Nexus Prime, drifting powerless in space. It would not happen on any council world, most of which were dealing with plague, famine, or civil war. Instead, the council delegates would come to New Seoul, the capital world of the Terran Federation. Li Jun stood at the spaceport, watching alien ships land on human soil. He recognized some of the delegates, the same beings who had voted to reduce human representation and increase human taxes just 1 year ago. Now they came not as proud council members, but as desperate refugees begging for help. President Kang. Yuri walked up beside him. She was a small woman with silver hair and sharp eyes that missed nothing. "Are you ready for this?" she asked. "I have been ready for this conversation for 12 months, Li Jun replied. "The question is whether they are ready to hear what we have to say." The delegation was smaller than expected. Only 7 species were represented. The other 5, founding members of the council, had either collapsed completely or joined the Altarian hegemony. The once mighty Galactic Council now consisted of a handful of survivors from a civilization that had ruled the galaxy for thousands of years. The former council leader, looking much older and more tired than Li Jun remembered, led the group down the ramp of their ship. His golden skin had lost its shine. His musical voice was hoarse with exhaustion. "Ambassador Li Jun," he said, bowing deeply, "thank you for agreeing to this meeting." Li Jun bowed back, but not as deeply. "President, Kang Yuri will see you now." They traveled through the streets of New Seoul in human vehicles. The alien delegates pressed their faces to the windows, staring at the bustling city around them. Clean streets, working power grids, happy, well-fed people going about their daily lives, cargo trucks moving efficiently through organized traffic patterns, medical centers with no lines of plague victims. Everything worked perfectly. "How?" whispered the spider alien delegate. "How is everything so functional?" Park Hana, riding in the vehicle as security escort, smiled grimly. "Humans are good at making things work. The government building in New Seoul was impressive, but not intimidating. Clean lines, efficient design, everything built for function rather than display. It was completely different from the grand, imposing architecture of council buildings." President Kang Yuri met them in a conference room with windows overlooking the city. She sat at a simple table with Li Jun beside her. General Park Jin, the military commander, sat to her other side. The message was subtle but clear. The humans were negotiating from a position of strength. "Thank you for coming so far to meet with us," President Kang Yuri said politely. "Please, sit down. Would you like anything to drink?" The former council leader sat carefully in the chair designed for his body type. The humans had even remembered the specific needs of different alien physiologies. Such small considerations had once seemed unimportant. Now, they seemed miraculous. "President Kang Yuri," he began, "we come before you to acknowledge our terrible mistakes. The Council was wrong to treat humans as lesser partners. We were wrong to reduce your representation and increase your taxes. We were wrong about everything." "Thank you for that acknowledgement," the president replied. "But I assume you did not travel all this way just to apologize." "No," the leader admitted. "We came to beg. Our civilization is collapsing. Millions are dead from plague and war and starvation. Dozens of worlds have fallen to chaos or enemy conquest. We need help. We need human help." President Kang Yuri leaned back in her chair. "Help with what, specifically?" The leader gestured helplessly. "Everything. We need doctors who understand biocontainment protocols. We need engineers who can repair our infrastructure. We need military commanders who can coordinate our defense. We need diplomats who can negotiate peace between warring factions. We need logistics experts who can restore our supply networks." In other words, Li Jun said quietly, "You need humans to fix all the problems that appeared when humans left." "Yes," the leader said simply. "We need everything we threw away." President Kang Yuri nodded. "I see. And what do you offer in exchange for this help?" "Anything, everything. Full restoration of human representation in the council, reduced taxes, formal apologies, whatever you want." The president looked at Li Jun, who opened a folder and placed several documents on the table. "These are our terms," Li Jun said. "The Terran Federation will consider rejoining the galactic community, but the old council structure is finished. If we return, it will be under a completely new arrangement." The alien delegates leaned forward eagerly. "First," Li Jun continued, "humans will have equal representation to any other founding member, regardless of population or territory size. No species will have more votes than any other species." The leader nodded quickly. "Agreed. Second, humans will have complete autonomy over internal affairs. No galactic government can pass laws affecting human colonies without human consent." Agreed. Third, humans will have the right to refuse participation in any galactic policy they disagree with, including military actions, trade agreements, or diplomatic initiatives. The spider alien delegate looked worried. "But that could paralyze the government if humans disagree with majority decisions." President Kang Yuri smiled coolly. Then, you will have to make sure your decisions are good enough that humans want to participate. The days of forcing human compliance with policies we oppose are over. Fourth, Lee Jun continued, all critical infrastructure, power systems, communication networks, medical facilities, defense installations will be designed and maintained jointly by human and alien teams. Never again will one species control systems that other species depend on for survival. And fifth, President Kang Yuri added, there will be binding treaties preventing any form of discrimination based on species age, technological level, or cultural differences. The idea that older species are automatically wiser species is finished forever. The delegates looked at each other. These terms would fundamentally change the balance of power in the galaxy. Humans would go from junior partners to equal leaders. These terms are extensive, the leader said carefully. Yes, they are, President Kang Yuri agreed. But they are non-negotiable. Humans will never again be treated as second-class citizens in a government we support with our blood, sweat, and expertise. General Park Jin leaned forward. I should mention that these terms are not just about political representation. They are about survival. Our analysis shows that your civilization collapsed because it was completely dependent on human expertise while refusing to acknowledge that dependence. This imbalance cannot be allowed to continue. What do you mean? Asked the Centauri delegate. I mean that humans were doing far more than their fair share of the work that kept galactic civilization functioning, the general explained. 40% of military protection, 60% of technological innovation, 80% of diplomatic mediation, all while receiving minimal representation and maximum criticism. This was not sustainable. Lee Jun opened another folder. Our economists estimate that human contributions to the old council were worth approximately 3 times what humans received in benefits. We were subsidizing the entire galactic community while being treated as charity cases. The alien delegates sat in uncomfortable silence. However, President Kang Yuri said, softening her tone slightly, humans believe in cooperation and mutual benefit. We are willing to help rebuild galactic civilization. As equal partners, not as servants. What about the immediate crises? Asked the leader desperately. Beings are dying every day we delay. We are already providing humanitarian assistance, the president replied. Human medical ships are treating plague victims in neutral space. Human food shipments are feeding refugee populations. Human rescue vessels are evacuating civilians from war zones. We have not abandoned innocent beings to suffer for their government's mistakes. The leader felt tears in his large eyes. Why? After how we treated you, why are you helping? Lee Jun answered simply. Because it is the right thing to do. Humans do not punish civilians for the actions of their leaders. We save lives first and settle political accounts later. President Kang Yuri stood up. You have our terms. Take them back to what remains of your governments. Discuss them with your people. When you are ready to accept equal partnership then human subordination, we can begin rebuilding together. The alien delegates filed out quietly. At the door, the former council leader turned back. Ambassador Lee Jun, he said, that last day in the council chamber when you said humans would comply with our decision, did you know this would happen? Did you know we would collapse without you? Lee Jun considered the question carefully. We knew that our contributions were significant. We hoped you would realize their value before it was too late. We did not expect you to let pride and prejudice destroy everything we had built together. But you prepared for it. We prepared for independence, yes. Humans have learned that we must be able to stand alone before we can truly stand together with others. The leader nodded sadly. We thought we were teaching you humility. Instead, you taught us dependence.